bought up the whole park for just $1,100. For those of you who are like, oh, why is Kelly's talking about single family homes? I'm talking about single family homes and mobile homes.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
whole park for
Yes.
$1,100.
Yeah. There
Wow.
are plenty of tax sales that have the mobile home parks. Like I'm sorry, the mobile homes and parks, but definitely you're going to see more of the individual mobile homes.
Mhm.
Um,
Hey everybody, this is Kelly from Hills Deals and Wills Mobile Home Investing Course, and we got a special guest today. Not only is she a realtor, she wears so many hats. I'm not going to even go there. I'm going to let her introduce herself to everybody. But she's also a student of mine. And introduce yourself to everybody. This is
yeah.
Shatwanna Dean. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Shatwanna Dean. I'm a licensed full-time realtor and loan originator in the state of Florida. Been doing that since 2004. In addition to that, I am a real estate investor. Have been doing that for maybe at least 10 years, 10 to 12 years now, doing real estate investing. I do buy and holds, flips. I have short-term rental properties. But my niche is buying cheap properties. I specialize in buying super cheap properties with, little to no money out of pocket. In addition to that, excuse me, I am a mom. I have three wonderful kids, two adults, and my daughter who's 15. And I'm in the military, was active duty. Now I'm in the reserves, 26 years of total service.
All right. So
That's me.
thank you so much for your service. So Shatwana, the main reason I wanted you to get on here, and it's for a selfish reason. I discovered tax liens and tax deeds. I discovered it.
Mhm.
Looking on YouTube, and matter of fact, my brother is the one who brought it to my attention, and I was like, "Oh man, I have a student that does that." You actually teach a course as well concerning this. Can you explain to everybody what a tax deed is and what a tax lien, what the difference is?
Yes. Okay. So every property in the United States and the territories of the United States, every type of real estate property, house, condo, townhouse, hotel, gas station, any kind of real estate that you can think of, there are property taxes associated with those properties that have to be paid on a yearly basis to the county. When those property taxes are not paid, the county has to do something in order to collect those funds. Our local property taxes pays for everything that we use in our communities, the schools, the roads, 911, the fire department, the local parks, the libraries, all of those community services are paid for via property taxes. So when a homeowner doesn't pay them, the county goes into a panic like, hey, we have to, get this money. We can't sit around and wait and see if the homeowner is going to pay or when the homeowner is going to pay. So therefore, they do one or two things. They basically sell a tax lien, also called a tax certificate, to a third party buyer, such as you or me. And when they sell that tax lien certificate, what that is giving you is it doesn't give you immediate ownership of the property. It's giving you an ownership interest in the property. You become a lien holder. And basically, just what that means is that property owner cannot sell that property. They cannot refinance that property. They can't do anything until you get paid. And the county also says, okay, in addition to giving you this lien, we're also going to pay you an interest amount for the time period of you holding this lien. The interest payments on tax sales are between 8% and as high as 50% in the state of Texas. So more than you're going to get in any bank, it's guaranteed by the government, unlike stocks, right? So that's the tax lien certificate. So you get a lien to a property. There's a redemption period. That just means there's a certain amount of time that the homeowner still has to come and pay their property taxes, redeem that property. If they redeem it, you get all your money back plus interest. If they do not redeem the property, you become the owner of the property. Okay. Now, tax deeds. Some states, they don't go through that lien process. They go straight into giving you ownership of that property. So you go to the auction, you win the property. That's it. You're going to get the deed to that property and become the owner. So those are the two big differences between tax liens and tax deeds.
Okay. And do you have a preference? Because I know you do both.
Yeah, and everyone asked that, but no, I honestly, I guess if I had to say I have a preference, because I absolutely do both and I love both. If I had a preference, the preference would probably be the tax liens, because tax liens generally you're going to get for much cheaper than a tax deed. Generally, not always. So the thought, I just love the fact that I can get a whole, a whole house for $500 or, a whole commercial building for, maybe $2,000. So I guess if I had to choose one, it would just be the liens, just because they're really dirt cheap to pick up.
Okay, so Shatwanna, if you're saying that we're only paying for the back taxes, why would one be cheaper than the other? I'm confused on that.
Okay, because what happens, these properties are sent to a tax sale auction. Okay. Now, not all, and let me just give this disclaimer. When it comes to tax sales, what makes it a little bit confusing is because every single state and county have their own system. There are over 3,200 counties that we have in the US. In every single state, and even some counties within the state will have their own little laws and process of handling these tax sales. But most of the properties, they go to a tax sale auction, and you're going to be bidding up the price. So let's say the back taxes and fees on the property is $1,500. That's what the auction will start at. And, I'll bid $1,500, you may bid $1,700, and it's going to keep going until the highest bidder wins. You're going to find that almost always the case for tax deeds. But now for some tax liens, there's something called a bid down sale. So in bid down states, you're bidding down the minimum amount of interest you'll accept. Louisiana is an example of this. Alabama is an example of this. So let's say that the back taxes on that property is $1,500. That's not going to change. What's going to change is the amount of interest. So in Alabama, the interest starts at 12%. If you're willing to take lower, the person who's willing to take the lower interest will win that tax lien, but you're going to win it at that low price, no matter what kind of property it is.
Gotcha. And so how did you get started on this? Because I'm going to tell you the truth. I have at least one cousin who's a realtor, and I've talked to several other realtors, and they was like, oh, I sort of kind of know something about it. But it's so amazing to me. I'm thinking, why wouldn't you know more about this? I mean, this is like a gold mine.
Yes, but so many people get that confused, Kelly. Like, people think because you're a realtor, you know about investing, you know about tax. Like, as a realtor, you know about none of that stuff. Like I said, I've been in the traditional realtor and mortgage broker space since 2004. That's 19 years ago, but they teach you traditional. Everything is traditional real estate. And that's what I was caught up in for so long. Oh, you have to have the 20% down. Oh, you need to have, the 700 plus credit score to buy an investment property. And to be honest, I could just never attain that. So that's all I knew, because that was from my traditional real estate background, because they teach you retail, buy and sell properties at retail market value. So how I got started with the tax sale, so investing in Florida and basically being priced out of the market because it's super expensive. I live in Orlando. I'm from South Florida. Real estate is expensive. So my real estate investment deals were like few and far in between. And I'm like, man, I want to be an active investor. I want to do more than one deal like every 2 to 3 years. So I don't know how the thought of tax sales got my mind. I may have seen something or something somewhere, and it just was like, okay, I'm gonna check this out. So I started attending the local tax sales in Orlando. That was back when they were in person. This is about in 2011. So I started going and watching, and I quickly got sort of like discouraged, right? Because again, I would see on the tax sale list the properties, the minimum bid, $1,100. Great. But then when I got to that tax sale auction, oh my gosh, that 1,100 would quickly turn into 200,000, and tax sales, majority of them, it's in cash at the end of the auction, in some kind of cashier's check, but cash transactions. And I'm like, oh man, like I still can't compete, but I continue to go to, learn, research, whatever. So fast forward, I end up just getting discouraged, like, oh goodness, I got to get my money up again, and whatever have you. So I started looking outside of Florida for traditional real estate, found Birmingham, Alabama. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go there. They have cheap properties. Look, y'all, I go where the cheap properties is. So, but while I was in Birmingham, I'm riding around with the realtor there, like, wow, I see all these vacant, empty apartment buildings and multifamilies. My goal has always been to own multifamilies, but from Florida, I'm not used to just seeing vacant, empty buildings sit. So I'm asking her, like, what's the deal? She's like, yeah, like people just like abandoned them, moved away. She was like, yeah, a lot of them were on the tax sale. So I was like, tax sale, you say? Again, I already had some experience and knowledge on the tax sale. So then I jumped head first into like the Alabama tax sales. And, it's just been going on and on from there, me going to different locations, following the cheap properties.
Okay. And so would you say that Alabama is your favorite state, or?
No, my favorite state is probably Indiana. And that's where I own the most tax sale properties.
And why is Indiana your favorite?
Well, I like the Midwest, which this Alabama plays into that too, but anywhere where the general real estate market is on the lower end, the tax sales are going to follow suit, for one. And then for two, in Indiana, every spring they have what's called a commissioner sales. At the commissioner sales, it doesn't matter what the back taxes are. The commissioner determines the minimum price. So the back taxes can be $10,000. And that commissioner, those sales in Indiana, depending on the county, the auction is gonna start at $25 to a maximum of $500. So that's where I've purchased like a lot of $500 houses and multifamilies. So Indiana is definitely my favorite.
Okay. And so, Shatwanna, do you have boots on the ground? You're not buying this stuff blindly, or
No, so I don't have boots on the ground. Excuse me. Excuse me. So I use a lot of modern day technology. I will post on my Facebook page. If you ever see a cryptic post on my page and I'm saying, hey, Facebook family, who lives in anyone in this area? Always know I'm hunting for boots on the ground. But I'll use my Facebook page. I use the local Facebook groups. I used to paste an ad on Craigslist and hire people. Now I use TaskRabbit. I use Uber. I use all kinds of services that will go out for me and, take pictures and videos of the properties.
Okay. And then after they take pictures, can you just give us the process? So you don't live in Indiana, you hire somebody to take pictures so they could be your boots on the ground. And then what do you do after that?
Okay, so my boots on the ground process is last. because there's more important things you have to determine before you want to get to the point where you're, paying someone to go and take the pictures. So my first process is to do all of the computer stuff. I'm going to look at the Google Street View, Google Earth, pay attention to the dates, because that picture can be from 10, 15 years ago. And even if it's from a year ago, even if it's from 6 months ago, you would be amazed at what can happen in that short period of time. But I pay attention to the date, but I use that as an overall, determining factor, like if I'm going to continue down the due diligence path. So after that, I'm looking at the GIS map. Oh my goodness, this is the number one tip gem you guys want to take away, that GIS map. It is going to save you every time with these tax sales. Tax sales are buyer beware. Once you buy it, you own it, they don't care. Again, there's sidewalks on tax sales. There's utility easements. If you have a water meter in your yard and you know how the water company can come on your property to turn your water off if you don't pay, that's called a utility easement. That little patch of grass, they end up on the tax sales all the time. A little patch of grass in your neighbor's place. I've seen houses divided. Like I've seen the middle of someone's house on a tax sale before. The alley is on the tax sale. A street might be on the tax sale. The GIS map will save you every time, because it's going to outline for you what that parcel number is, what you're actually bidding on. Because real estate is sold via parcel number, not via address. So the address, if you're bidding on a sidewalk, of course, the address is going to ping for the house in front of the sidewalk, but it's the parcel ID that's going to tell you if it's the house or sidewalk. So I'm going to check the GIS. Once I confirm, okay, it's a house or whatever that I'm bidding on, then I want to get an idea of the values. What are the comps? So I go to like realtor.com, Zillow, and Redfin are my three, because they're going to give you three separate values, but you're just gathering that information and maybe take the average of them to determine how much the property is going to be worth. Then once I've checked that off, the last thing I'm going to do before I hire boots on the ground is check the title search. Because again, buyer beware. This is not like a traditional real estate transaction where you're going to have a title company or a real estate attorney that's going to run a title search and make sure there's no liens. There's none of that in tax sales. You are your own title attorney and title company. So you have to run the lien search. You could pay someone, but a lot of these tax sales, especially the ones that I participate in, there's thousands of properties on the list. So you don't want to pay for that. You can do a quick manual search yourself, Recorder of Deeds or the Register of Deeds. And I just check the title, few minutes to make sure, I don't see any IRS liens, or any local liens. And then if the property has made it through all of those steps, then the last steps is the physical putting eyes on the property.
Okay. And so then you put your eyes on the property, you determine, okay, I want to bid on this property. You go online or you fly out to Indiana? How does that work?
Well, no, not all of Indiana. I'm sorry. Most of Indiana counties are online, but some are in person. And I do both. I do online auctions and in-person auctions.
Okay. And is there like a deposit or you got to register, or how does that work?
Yeah, so mostly all auctions you will have to register. The only requirements for auctions, you have to be 18 years of older. You have to have a state ID or driver's license, and you cannot owe any back taxes in that county, and you can't have any affiliation with that property. Like it can't be a family member's property that you're trying to win for them. That's it. You don't have to have a job. You can have a 480 credit score. They don't care nothing about that. You can have, felonies, like they care nothing about that.
Wow. Okay, so Shatwanna, you win the bid, and now the home is yours, right? Is no redemption period, or is there a redemption period?
Well, it depends if it's a lien or a deed. Yep, it
Oh,
depends on.
because Indiana's both.
Now, in Indiana, it's a lien state. So the annual sales in September have a 1 year redemption period. The commissioner sales in the spring have a 4 month redemption period.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what can you do during the redemption period to the home?
In Indiana, nothing.
Okay.
Some other counties, they may allow you to secure the property. Actually, in like Montgomery County in Alabama, you during the redemption period, if the property is abandoned, not vacant, but abandoned, there is a difference in the law. You can actually take possession of that property. And during the redemption period, you can collect rent and everything else. And if the homeowner redeems, they have to pay you for what you pay, your interest, plus any required improvements you make to the house to make it livable.
Okay. Okay. So you can't go in there and put some granite countertops on there.
Right, exactly. And that was required. Yeah.
Okay. So now the property is yours.
Mhm.
The redemption period is over. How do you go about? I understand that there's like an issue with getting insurance for these properties. How do you get the homeowner's insurance?
Okay, there's not an issue with insurance. You might be talking about the title insurance. So when you win these properties, the deed you're going to get is going to be a quitclaim deed, a sheriff's deed, or a tax deed, like 90 something percent of the time. Excuse me. All of three of those deeds that I mentioned do not come with title insurance. You cannot get title insurance on those deeds because those deeds are basically saying that whoever have owned the property before, like they make no guarantees. Like if I sell a property via quitclaim deed, it literally says, hey, I'm selling you whatever interest I may or may not have into this property. So that's why you can't get title insurance on those. But there's two things you can do. You can do a quiet title action. Basically, that's done with an attorney. The attorney is going to file a lawsuit on your behalf and basically to any of the heirs or anyone who may have had ownership rights to that property. So they'll do a quiet title action. Typically takes about 90 days. Once that's done, you'll receive a decree and now you can get a warranty deed and get title insurance. Another one is called a tax title service. I don't do this. I only do the quiet titles, but the tax title service, the good thing about that is it can be done in like 14 days versus like the 90 days for quiet title action. So, they're able to do a search and allow you to get title insurance if to sell the house or refinance the house. But I will say this, depending on what you're doing with the house, it's not mandatory for you to like quiet the title or get title insurance. Like I've sold plenty of properties as is via quitclaim deed off of the tax deed. It needs to be reflective in your price because now the end buyer is going to have to do those steps. So investors will buy that. If you're trying to market it to someone who's getting financing, like FHA, conventional VA, that's not going to work because their lender is not going to allow that. But so if cash buyer, I'll list it like on Facebook Marketplace as is for cash and sell it.
I got you. So I am trying to understand this. So how is it that okay, I have a mortgage on my home. How can you not pay your taxes because your mortgage and the taxes are together?
No, not necessarily. That's only depending on the down payment. You don't have, for most mortgages, you don't have to escrow if it's like a 80% LTV. So basically, if you put down like a 20% down payment, you don't have to escrow. So many people have those mortgages where they don't have to escrow, or when your mortgage reaches that threshold, let's say you got a VA loan originally at 100%. Once you come down to that threshold, you can request, to have your escrows removed. So that's how that ends up
Oh, that's
happening.
how that ends up happening. Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And then you have some mortgage companies, believe it or not, they drop the ball. They drop the ball as well. Because even with the redemption rights, a mortgage company have the same redemption rights as a homeowner because they are a lien holder. But that's why tax liens are superior to mortgages. So what that means is if the mortgage lender, if they don't redeem within that time frame, and you win that property, it wipes the mortgage out.
Wow. Wow. And see, that's the amazing thing about it, that the mortgage is wiped out. So
Yes.
you can own your neighbor's home
Mhm.
for little to
Yeah,
no money.
exactly. Now, I do want to put this disclaimer. That's not the case in New Mexico.
So what's going on with New Mexico?
New Mexico, the mortgages are not wiped off. So
Wow.
if you bid in New Mexico, when you're doing that title search, you're going to pay attention to if there's a mortgage on that property or not.
Wow. Okay. So have you ever, or does anybody ever acquire a property where they have to, after quieting the title and all this good stuff, they still have to evict the people who are in there?
Yeah, it could be, because a lot of these properties are occupied and it can be tenant occupied, owner occupied, or squatter occupied. I just dealt with that. I had to go to Detroit a couple days ago. I just got in late
Yeah,
last night.
I saw your post. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I had a squatter in one of my properties there. But so yes, so you may get a property and it may be occupied. So typically I do a couple of things. I don't go straight to the eviction, especially if it's like a homeowner that was there. Because sometimes it may be an elderly person. They could have been in this house for 30 years. So I always just try to come from a place of empathy. So typically I'm going to try to make arrangements, see if they'll be interested in renting the property back. Now, of course, you want to qualify them and make sure they're able to afford the rent. People automatically think, oh, well, if they ain't pay the taxes, they wouldn't be able to afford the rent. Well, that's not necessarily the case at all. But you do want to make sure that there's, income coming in. So that's always my first option. If that cannot work, then I am a fan of cash for keys, because depending on the state that you're in, especially us coming out of this COVID era, some of these evictions, they take a long time. That's costing you money. So it may very well be cheaper for you to give someone $2,500 in exchange for the keys, no further damage to the property, and for them to be out, in 2 weeks. So then you can get in and start doing what you need to do with that property. The beauty of this, again, you're buying the property so cheap. There's enough meat on the bone for all of this stuff. Like, it's not going to hurt your ROI at all. Now, at the end of the day, if nothing works, they're not negotiable or reasonable, absolutely, then we're going to file for eviction.
Okay.
And let the people get them out.
Okay. All right. And so what are the pros? We are already heard the pros. We done already heard the pros. The pros are you're going to probably get a property, but a lot of these properties, these people, they wind up paying the taxes, right? Because they don't want you to have their property.
It depends. Every county has a different redemption rate, right? So like one of the counties I participate in, Indiana, the redemption rate there, I'm at like a 95% non-redemption rate for that county.
Wow.
Then you have other places, like I participate in DC auction. They probably have like a 80 to 90% redemption rate because their properties there, are worth just so much money. So it really depends. Every county, every market is different with the redemption period.
And so what are some of the cons, except for, of course, you might have to evict somebody and be out of even more money?
Yes. So the evictions, again, you don't do your due diligence and you buy the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you buy that patch of grass or that sidewalk. You don't get eyes on the property, and this happens all the time. It's happened with me, happened with my students. You know, you don't get any eyes on the property. You thought you were bidding on a house. When you finally get there, the house is no longer there. It was demolished, whatever the case. So, I mean, you got land, you know, that's the way I take it. Like, you have to mitigate your risk. Like, I'm a risk taker, you know, but I know what I'm doing. Like, you know, if I'm bidding on a house for $500, I think to myself, okay, I did not do my full due diligence, didn't look at the property, but worst case scenario, I'm going to be okay with this land that I now own for $500, you know.
Right.
So those are the cons. And then also, you know, not following the proper procedures. So if it's a lien, right? We talked about the tax liens and tax certificates. After the redemption period is up, there's a foreclosure process that must take place because we live in America. We can't just unjustly take people's property, right? The proper notifications have to have been made. They have to have been made aware that a tax lien was sold on their home. They're at risk of losing it. So if your notifications and the foreclosure process isn't done completely, you will not get a deed. Will not. So you will lose out on the money that you paid to win that property. I like to call it, you just made a donation to that county.
Wow. Wow. So as of today, what is your biggest return on your investment?
Oh goodness, probably my biggest return because so for a lot of my properties, I mean, because I do everything. I'll wholesale some, keep them and rent them, do the BRRRR method, fix and flip. So I would say right now is probably I don't even know how to calculate ROI. It's probably about a 200% ROI. That just basically means I got back all the money I put into the property, which isn't a lot to begin with, that I purchased it for. So my acquisition costs, right? Then I got back all of my rehab costs, everything I put into it. And then I got back about an additional $40,000. So I don't know, it was probably about a 200 to 300% ROI for on the property.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to, Shatwanna, I don't want to get in your personal business. How are you coming up with the money for this? Because a lot of people don't know some of this stuff you could buy with your credit cards,
Oh my gosh,
even a debit card.
yes. So I am a huge proponent on using business credit.
Okay.
So those are like my two specialties. I merge real estate with the business credit, complete game changer. Um, so that's what I use to rehab all of my properties. I don't use any of my own money. Everything is done for using business credit to do the rehab and to, you know, even buy the properties.
Hmm. Okay.
Because yeah, a lot of people get so caught up in that, like, okay, I buy this property for cheap. You know, it's always, well, what about how am I going to afford or how am I going to get the money to do the rehab? Um, and it's easy. When I say it's easy, like I'm not one of them people who do like no bait and switch or just when I say it's easy, it's easy.
All right. Uh, and these properties that you're getting from these auctions are probably pretty nice because these people were expecting to still live there. So it's
Well,
not like trash all the time. It's not trashed out, I don't think.
so the tax sale properties, you're going to find a wide variety. There are nice move-in ready houses. I mean, you find a wide variety. I will say I specifically go after the ugly houses. I like the ugly houses because I want to get my properties at a crackhead price. Um, and I want that huge spread that's there because, you know, after I rehab it, because that's the beauty, you know, in real estate, it's taken, you know, you don't make the money on buying the pretty properties, right? You make that over time in appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
But if you looking to be able to cash out, before waiting for the property to appreciate, it's in the properties that need work. So I do go after the ugly houses. I love them.
Okay. Are you doing this yourself, or do you have business partners, or how's that work?
I do it myself.
Amazing, amazing. So I want to talk about, well, let's talk about this. One of your students actually got an entire mobile home park
Yes.
from a tax lien, or was it tax deed?
It was a tax deed in Pennsylvania. It was a tax deed sale. And yeah, and she said that on the list of properties, and I'm so upset because I wanted to attend that auction. But that's the thing, y'all. I attend so many auctions. I be here, there, I forget. But it was in Pennsylvania. She said on that tax sale, it was mostly all mobile home parks. And she won that one for like $1,100, the entire mobile home park. She's supposed to receive the deed in like 45 to 60 days. Because once you win the properties, you don't get the deed the same day. The county have to record the deed. Y'all know how the government employees be. And then they mail it out to you. But so yeah, an entire mobile home park. And she said that there was some on the list that didn't even get bidded on. So I'm like, okay, so I got to watch out for that list because I want me a mobile home park.
Exactly. So, and I'm glad you brought that up. So the properties that are not that are left over, they have what's called, sometimes it's called a leftover list, or it's called something else.
Yes. Yep. And this was the sale that she was on. So in general, they're called OTCs, over the counters. However, every state does have their own terminology for them. Like if you're just speaking to someone who's familiar with tax sales and you say OTCs, they're going to know what you mean. But in Pennsylvania, for example, if you call them and ask about OTC, they're not going to know what you're talking about because they call them repository sales. But yes, the OTC sales basically, and not all states do them, but in like 18 states maybe, any sale properties that do not sell at the annual sale that they have, they basically, the county takes ownership of them and you can just buy them directly from the county. A lot of times those properties, there's no competition. You don't even have to bid against no one. You just contact the county and you just get the property directly from the county. And then some people sometimes think, oh, well, if no one bought them, they must be junk. Not so. Like, yes, there could be junk on there. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. But you will be surprised. Some of these auctions, y'all, have 8,000, 10,000 properties. And there may only be 100 bidders. Like people just literally can't bid on all the properties, for one. For two, some people win properties and they don't pay for them, whether on purpose or on accident. They miss the deadlines, and the payment deadlines, they are set in stone. If the cutoff was 5 o'clock, at 5:10, they're going to reject your payment.
Wow.
So that happens every tax sale I've ever attended. So in those properties, they're going to go to the OTC list. So no, it's not always, only the crap that's on the OTC list.
Right. And I'm glad your student, bought up the whole park for just $1,100. But those of you who are like, oh, why is Kelly's talking about single family homes? I'm talking about single family homes and mobile homes.
Yes, absolutely.
The whole park for $1,100.
Yeah, there are plenty of tax sales that have the mobile home parks. Like I'm sorry, the mobile homes and parks, but definitely you're going to see more of the individual mobile homes.
On land.
I seen have parks. Well, you're going to see both on land, mobile homes in parks. Yes.
Yeah, so that's amazing.
Mobile homes you can get picked up, so you can pick them up so cheap on the tax sales. That was my first mobile home that I was able to get to go through the process of rehabbing, and it's like it's in pretty good condition and everything. But I'm like, okay, let me get this one done, because then I'm gonna have enough for my own park, because I'm about to tear them. It's so many. And again, you can just pick up the phone, call the county. Is this mobile home available? and they say yes, like $800, $900. That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
And they're double wide, single wide, some old, some newer, like it runs the gamut.
Wow. So let's talk about this sweet deal you got going here. You killing the game. So you have an apartment complex that you spent like, is it 12,000 or a little 12 and
Yeah.
some change?
Yeah.
A whole apartment complex. And then the after repair value is over 6 million. So if you're not already a millionaire, you about to be one if that's not redeemed. Can you talk about that deal?
Yeah, so that was last week at the Washington D.C. tax sale. So I won that property. I end up being the highest bidder because it's a bid up. So you're bidding against people. So I won it for the 12,000 and some change. And oh my goodness, it's like it's a senior because I went by there to be nosy and stuff. It's fully occupied.
Okay.
And it's a senior living apartment complex. Yeah, DC has a 6-month redemption period, so I'm trying not to even think about it.
Okay. So what are your plans? The 6 months come around, and of course you don't want to throw these people out. What is your plan with that?
No, I would keep it. Going to keep that thing as
So
is,
the,
and
so the rent comes to you now.
absolutely, yeah, the rent will come to me, and yeah, I would keep that, and I'm gonna tap into some of that equity. I sure am, but like a refinance. But no, I wouldn't sell that at all. Keep
Wow.
that, collect the rent, and you gonna know, Kelly, because you gonna look around, you're gonna be like, I ain't seen Shatwanna online in a month.
Hey, you might look around and I'm gonna be on your shoulder, be like, girl, okay, slapping you 5 in person. So anyway, do you have any words of encouragement for somebody who's trying to get into this business? Because I tell everybody trying to look on YouTube, even this conversation that we've had, me and you today, I've learned some stuff. But trying to get on YouTube and learn this, I don't know. How do you feel about it, Shatwanna? I don't think you could do it. You're
You
gonna
know,
make a mistake.
yes, you're gonna make mistakes. I know, look, I tell people I have a PhD in definitely Google, I definitely go to the YouTube University, right? But first of all, and people will say, oh, you can find that information online. You have to know what you're looking for. You have to know what to type in the search box. Yes, you can type tax sales or tax lien or tax deed, right? And it's going to give you the overall general information. But, what many of you on here, would you have known that you need to type in a GIS map? Like there's specific things. So I highly recommend, just getting educated. And if you want to invest, your time into it, sure, because the information it is out there, I'll be the first one to say it. You just have to know what you're looking for and be able to devote that time, energy, and resources to doing it. But absolutely, just get educated, and then take action. Don't get caught up in analysis paralysis. Don't let it take you 5 years to get educated. It happens to the best of us. I've been there as well. And that's why I'm so aggressive now. When I'm buying all these properties and stuff, and a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, but I'm literally now trying to make up for all the years that I was sitting on the sideline because one, I didn't have the information, right? I didn't know that this stuff existed. I'm thinking the traditional route, so now I'm like, I gotta make up for all these years. I'm not as young as I may look.
But Shatwanna, would it be fair to say, looking on Facebook Marketplace and all that good stuff versus getting a tax lien or tax deed certificate? I don't even think I want to go on Facebook Marketplace no more and look for a mobile home.
No. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all,
Mm.
once you get involved in this tax lien and tax deed, it is going to spoil you with your real estate investing in general, definitely for the mobile homes. I mean, for everything, because yes, I was doing, I'm a student of Kelly's following her. So, I was doing the Facebook marketplace and all of that. And, I would find stuff cheap, but I was still like hesitant. But when it came to like the 800, when we talk about $800, $900, like, most of us, we eat that up in restaurant or whatever. It makes it a little easier just to pull the trigger and to get started. So yeah, now I want the tax liens and tax deeds.
All right. So Shatwanna, tell us about your course. What do we get when we get access to your course? What do we get?
So my it's a tax sale workshop, I call it. It's a 2-day via Zoom. Day one is all about the basics and fundamentals of tax sales, all the terminology, the jargon. I walk you through the whole process step by step, where it's a lot of information, but I've been told the way that I break it down, it makes it easier for you to understand. So that's day one. Day two is more so like a hands-on approach. And day two is all about the due diligence to ensure that you don't make a bad buy. You don't lose your money, but I walk you through. So I'm not just sitting here telling you, I tell you, but then I share my screen and we go through, the title searches I mentioned. I pull up the GIS map. So I just walk you through all of that. So that's the 2-day workshop. And then with the workshop, you also get 90-day access to my Facebook group, because I felt like it's a lot of information and, you can watch a course and get it, you answer your questions then, but then when you go to apply the information, you have new questions. It's like, oh, well, how do I do this? So I figured, by giving people access to me via the Facebook group, you can ask any questions that come up once you start trying to apply the information. And within the Facebook group itself, I post a monthly tax sale list of tax sales that are coming up for every month all across the US, because I have people from my group in every state. I invest in every state. So I provide that and a whole lot of other just tools and resources to help you on your real estate investing journey.
Wow. Okay. And I'll you give me the link and I'll put the link in the description as well. Wow. So Shatwanna, I know I've been procrastinating. I shouldn't say procrastinating because that's a lie. I have not been procrastinating about purchase your course.
Oh, well, action though. I mean, yeah.
Oh, it's going down and it's going down tonight. So I'm going to purchase your course tonight.
Okay.
I do not, however, I don't know if I have time to look at it because once I get on the course, I'm just like, I'll just bam it out. But the course is on demand, correct?
Yes, it's on demand. Absolutely. And again, once you sign up, you're automatically sent the link to the Facebook group. You're sent the Zoom links, and they're always there for you to access and refer to. Because I stress to a lot of my students, because they are super unfamiliar with tax sales. That they may even need to watch the workshop 2 to 3 times. You've already had some background, so one time for you will probably be good, but most people, they need to watch it like 2 to 3 times. So yeah, you'll have access to it, to refer back and all that good stuff.
Shatwanna, so I see you like walking around with your students. So how does that work? You guys are going to these?
If you're on my Facebook group, so in my Facebook group, I share with my students every tax sale that I'm going to attend. So as long as you're in my Facebook group, you're able to attend those sales with me. Because for some people, it helps for the fair to know that, okay, I'm here with someone that's knowledgeable, experienced. I'm not, let's clear this up now. I'm not like sitting there holding your hand, because I'm also bidding and participating. That's the difference to me with some other, teachers and coaches or whatever, which is similar, like Kelly. Like we don't just teach something, we're actually doing it. We're in the game, we're a part of it too. We're not just talking about it. So but I am there, for you to ask me any questions, to look over something before you raise your hand to bid on it. So, that helps a lot of people with having that. But yeah, you're able to come to any tax sale that I'm with. And then I know we went to what was it, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and that was an auction I was going to attend, but several of my students wanted to go, so then I went as well. So we do that. We went to Indiana in April. Again, that sale was online, but I wanted to encourage them to do their due diligence, to get out there. So we were out there for a whole weekend, looking at properties, doing the due diligence. A whole group of us brought up like 5 blocks of properties there. So,
Yeah, I saw that. So,
yeah.
Shatwanna, the information that you're giving them online concerning these properties, you have already done your own due diligence on that, or you're just telling them, hey, these properties, y'all need to check it out?
Yeah, no, I give them like the tax sales. So it's like a list of all the upcoming tax sales. So that's all I'm giving you is like the list of the tax sales. So you have to, because again, you have to determine which locations you're interested in. Some people want to invest close to them, but I'm just giving you the tools like, okay, for August, here's a list of 20 to 30 tax sales that are coming up. And then, I'll post for certain ones like like we have Michigan coming up. That's one of my favorite because you can pay directly with a credit card. So, when there's tax sales like that or certain ones that I'm fond of or favorite, or, okay, this one, I know all the properties are going to be $100. Those are the kind of things I post in the group.
Gotcha. All right, well, I'm in. I'm in. I'm going to pay tonight, but I'm just not sure when I'll be able to watch it. I'm definitely in. So, Shatwanna, I appreciate you coming on here. You want to give everybody your contact information, or do you have like a website or 800 number or the name of the course?
My Instagram, if you go to my Instagram, everything is there. So my Instagram is S Dean Real Estate. So my first initial S, last name Dean, in real estate. That's where you can find me. And I share a lot of information. Like if you may not, be ready for the course right now, I try to share, free information, tips and tricks that, maybe you can just take and use. And most importantly, I share lots of receipts. Kelly can tell you. Yeah. So you go on my page, you're going to see actual deeds. You're going to see actual tax lien certificates. So I'm big on transparency, right? Because anybody can say that they did something. So I share lots of receipts.
And your course is still very reasonably priced right now. You want to share with them the price?
Yes, it's $597 for everything that I said that's included. And I challenge you to find another tax sale course that's giving you all that for that price. And if y'all
I agree. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. If you find one, it probably ain't gonna be good. I'm gonna tell you that right now.